Hi and welcome. Today I want to talk about how God revealed to me what covenants I got myself into when I was going through my spiritualism or through my spiritual awakening. Before 2023, when I got saved, I was spiritual and I was deep into spiritualism. I believed that I needed rose quartz to attract love. I believed that I needed crystals to keep me protected. I needed crystals to bring money into my life. I was so deep into spiritualism that I was doing witchcraft. I was doing spell work. I was actually able to manifest, I want to say like $17,000 one time because I was doing witchcraft. I was the type of person that I would go to rivers and I would ask the river for permission to take something. I would go to the ocean and I would ask the ocean for permission to take something home with me. And I used to meditate. And at the time, I thought spiritualism is the way for me because it's teaching me about oneness and it's teaching me about love and it's teaching me about, the power within me. And without knowing it, spiritualism was opening my eyes to the existence of God. But at the same time, because I wasn't aware of God and I didn't have a connection with God, it was leading me away from Him because of the practices that I was doing and the covenants that I was getting myself into, and I didn't even know, because to me it was spiritual. It was spiritualism, like doing spell work, manifesting with water, talking to my water. And I used to do a lot of water work. I worked a lot with water, and I remember I would even take pictures and send them to my mom because I would pray to the water, and whenever I would pray to the water would create these little bubbles. Because if you don't know, there has been, scientific proof that water is alive. And why wouldn't it be? It's the creation of God. But water is alive. So when you pray to your water, or when you talk to your water, the molecules change depending on if you talk to your water good or if you talk to your water bad. So I would grab the Bible and I would pray to the water. I was using the Bible to do witchcraft, and it would change the water, and I would take pictures of it. I would send it to my mom because I was so proud. And I used to sage my house because I thought saging my house is gonna keep the demons out, right? Well, when I got into spiritualism, my life started being very chaotic. And I started noticing that no matter how much I would meditate, no matter how much I would manifest, no matter how many crystals I would carry with me, I wasn't at peace. And I was constantly scared, and I was constantly trying to please, whoever I was serving. I was constantly trying to please them so that they wouldn't punish me. And it got to the point where I started doing blood magic. And I was starting to learn about blood magic. And one time I told myself, okay, I'm gonna start learning how to read the tarot cards. And I was gonna buy myself a tarot deck, and I was going to start learning how to do tarot reading because I wanted to know about my future. After I got that thought of that I wanted to buy myself a tarot deck, I had a dream. And my dream was very specific. And my dream told me that for 7 days I had to fast. the dream was a mango tree, and this mango tree was in the middle of a sidewalk. And I remember there was cement, and then there was like a crack, and then in the crack it was the mango tree, and the fruit of the mango, it was just humongous. It was like I would have to use 2 hands to carry 1 mango, and it was just so abundant. The mango tree was so abundant. It had so many mangoes, and they were just huge mangoes. And I remember I was into dream work, so I, being spiritual, I went and I searched up my dream, and it said that I had to do a 7-day fast, and I had to eat mango at 3 o'clock in the afternoon for 7 days and read the Bible. And I was like, that's odd. And I was like, I'm gonna try it, but I don't think I'll succeed, because I have never fasted before. And the times that I have fasted in the past for dietary reasons, I would fail that same day. So me and fasting has never been a thing. So I said, okay, I'm gonna do it. I did it. I was able to fast for 7 days, and it was the easiest fast for me. And at 3 o'clock I would eat mango, and then after eating mango I would read my Bible. And I actually read the book of Ecclesiastes, so I learned about Solomon and King Solomon, and I learned about wisdom and everything that he was just talking about. And the more that I would read every single day, the more revelation I was getting, and the more my eyes were opening up to God and his creation. And on the last day of my fast, I remember I had this realization of, why am I praying to the universe? Why am I praying to the water? Why am I praying to crystals? Why am I praying to blood, when I can literally skip all of that and pray to the one and true creator, God? And on the last hour of my fast, on day 7, my last hour of my fast, I became very emotional, and my heart just felt heavy, and I was so emotional. And I remember I had to excuse myself and go to the restroom, and when I went to the restroom, I completely fell to my knees and I started crying. Like, I couldn't hold it anymore. I started crying, and I remember I was crying so uncontrollably that it was like a hysterical cry. Like, I couldn't stop crying. And I remember just feeling this warmth, like it was like somebody was hugging me, but it was just me in the restroom. And I remember I felt like somebody was hugging me, and my body started feeling hot, and I just couldn't stop crying. And then when I finally stopped crying, I cried for like a good 30 minutes without stop. When I finally stopped crying, this sense of peace filled me up, and I've never felt peace in my life. Before that day, I didn't know what peace was, and I was in such a broken place in my life. I had hit rock bottom. I was struggling financially. I was struggling in my relationship. I was struggling with postpartum depression. I was struggling with my faith. I didn't believe in anything, and I was just trying to find purpose in life. And I remember I felt peace for the first time ever, and after that I never looked back. After that day, I got rid of all my crystals. I got rid of everything that had to do with witchcraft. I remember I grabbed all my journals that I used to use to script my future, and I burned them. And that's when my walk with God started. That's when I believed God is real. I had no question about it. There was no doubt in my heart that God is real. And it's just like a complete transformation happened for me, where everything that I believed in, it was all a lie. I didn't need crystals to protect me, to bring me money, to bring me love. I didn't need to manifest money into my life. I didn't need to ask the ocean for permission to take something. I didn't need to pray to water to change the way that I felt. And that's when my walk with God started, and I was very new to it, so I didn't know how to do it, but I just knew that for the first time in my life, I had no doubt that God was real. God is real. And little by little, he started transforming me. Little by little, God started introducing himself into my life. And I remember everything that I once knew was no longer for me. My relationship ended, so I had to move back with my parents as a single mom. And I remember when I moved back with my parents, for like a whole month, I would wake up 3 times during the night, and I would just read the Bible. And I would read the Bible, and I was always learning something new, and my faith in God just started growing more and more and more and more. And we moved from the place we were at, we moved here. Me living here is an answered prayer, because I told God, I prayed for peace. I prayed for him to take me out of the chaotic life that I had and take me into a place of peace. And that's exactly what he did. He brought me to this place of peace. And I remember when we moved here is when he really started working on me, and it was like this. So all of 2024, God revealed to me that because of my path in spiritualism and my ignorance of the spiritual world, I got myself in covenants, and I needed to deliver myself from those covenants that I had gotten in myself in when I was spiritual. He revealed to me that I was in a covenant with Leviathan, the spirit of water. He showed me that, in 2 dreams. And the reason he showed me is because at first he told me, you need to deliver yourself from something. So the more I started hearing him, the more I started understanding when he would communicate with me. I asked him, what is it that I need to deliver myself from? What covenants am I in that I need to break free from? And my first dream was me it wasn't an ocean, but it was a body of water, and there was 3 mermaids there, and I was in the water with the mermaids, and the mermaids were trying to do stuff to me. And I remember yelling at the mermaids and telling them, I'm not a man, I'm not a man, I'm not a man. And I was yelling to them that I'm not a man. And then when they finally realized, it clicked, and they looked at me and they noticed that I wasn't a man, then they let me go. And then they went and they started attacking a man. I woke up and I looked into it. I was like, what does it mean to dream with mermaids, like water and stuff? And apparently mermaids are, spirits of the water kingdom. So I started praying for deliverance from the water kingdom. Then I had another dream about flies, and I was having dreams that I've never really had before. And one way that God communicates with me is through dreams, because whenever he has a message for me, I remember my dreams. And that's how I know I need to pay attention to my dreams, because if I remember it, it's for a reason. So he showed me this dream of flies, and I went and I searched it, and then it said the same thing. You're in a covenant with the water spirit. And I remember talking to my mom about this, because my mom, she has a very special connection with God. She says that God answers her prayers. my mom says it's so crazy, and sometimes she has to stop herself from certain things because she says that God is really on her side. So I was telling her about these dreams, and she told me, you know what, it makes sense, because she says when you were in your crazy era, you used to work a lot with water. She was, remember when you used to send me the pictures after you would pray to the water? And then I remember I still had a little bottle with sand and water in it at this house. And I remember I was like, oh my gosh, like I still have something that connects me to my old life in this new life, and I need to break free from it. And I started remembering, like, I used to work so much with water. I used to bathe myself in rivers and oceans after I would pray to, the water spirits. And I'm like, it makes so much sense. Then my third dream was of 2 dogs that attacked me. It was 2 black German shepherds, and both of them attacked me, and both of them targeted at my throat. And I remember that very well, because I remember in my dream I was walking, and then I look over and I see one of the black German shepherds running at full speed, and it was just a very aggressive face that I saw, and he charged at my neck, but he missed, so he kind of just scraped me. And I was like, whoa. And in my dream I just kept going. And then I see another black German shepherd also charging at me at full speed, and like his face was just so aggressive. He comes and he like tries to bite my throat, but he's not successful. And I wake up, and once again I start looking up what does it mean to dream with black dogs, and it says that in the dream realm, in the spiritual realm, black dogs are very dangerous, and they represent the water kingdom. So all of these 3 dreams that God showed me, all of them correlated to the water kingdom. And I said, oh my gosh, everything makes so much sense. I used to work so much with water, and I used to pray to water, so it makes sense that I got in covenant with the water kingdom because of my ignorance, because I thought, oh, spiritualism, it's so much fun, when in reality it's not. Spiritualism is not fun, it's not funny, it's not something that you should take lightly. It's real. And if you don't know what you're doing, and if you don't know God, you're getting yourself in very dangerous covenants that can tie you down, can enslave you, can put you in shackles. And that's why when I was spiritual, I was the unhappiest. I wasn't happy, I wasn't prospering. My life seemed that I went from having it all to having nothing in a matter of minutes, because that's how it works. When you put yourself in situations where you're ignorant, you don't know who's there lurking behind closed doors to attack you, to get a hold of you. I didn't know God, so I didn't know how to protect myself, and I didn't know how to know what was right and what was wrong. And yes, I think spiritualism can be a good thing in the sense of the loving aspect of it. We all depend on each other, we all rely on each other, and I do believe that the life of an animal is important, as well as the life of a plant and a life of an ant. All life is important, because all life was created by God, and God created us all because He loves us. But the dangerous side of spiritualism is that because it teaches you to believe that you are God rather than we have a God, you can get in really dangerous covenants with the enemy. And what's worse is that you don't even know it. So that's my experience when I used to be spiritual. And I think that God has a purpose for me, and that is why he decided to save me. And I am so grateful for that, because my life has really changed for the better after I stopped being spiritual. But I do believe that, God allows us to make certain decisions for him to shape us into the people that we're supposed to be. If it hadn't been for spiritualism, I wouldn't have known about a lot of the things that I know now, and I wouldn't have a lot of realizations that I have now. Like, it taught me how to love other people, and it taught me how to care for animals, and it taught me about the creation of God. But the downside and the dangerous side of spiritualism was that I was so ignorant that I got myself in covenant with the water spirits, and it took a long time for me to break free from that. It took a lot of faith in God to deliver myself, for God to deliver me from the water covenant. It took a whole year for him to do that, for him to work and break me free, because I was in deep. I was in really deep. And I think that's the dangers of spiritualism. So if you know of anybody who's spiritual, pay attention to them. Pay attention to what they believe in, and pray for them. I think that's the best thing that we can do for our neighbors, is pray for them, whether they think that they need it or they don't need it. You, as a believer in God, you should be praying for your neighbor. You should be praying for a stranger. You should be praying for this world. You should be praying for the salvation of everybody, because you don't know what people are going through. And who knows, maybe me getting saved by God was either that he wanted to save me, or maybe it was my mom praying for my salvation. You never know who you can save with your prayers. So please keep that in mind. Pray for your neighbor. Pray for your family member. Pray for yourself. Pray for everyone to find God. I think the most beautiful thing that we can do as human beings is find God. And I always tell people, when somebody is doing something bad to me or something, or trying to put me down, I always say, I'm gonna pray that you find Jesus. Because finding Jesus can be a little scary, because that's when the conviction starts. That's when the conviction starts. God is gonna convict you. I don't need to do anything. I'm just gonna pray that you find Jesus, because I'm gonna let him deal with you. So that's my path of how I went from being spiritual to being a believer in Christ, being the daughter of God. And now I'm just trying to grow my faith in him, trying to surrender to his will, and trying to spread his love as much as I can. So thank you for watching.